Hello once again, and welcome to another episode of the Game Global podcast, hosted by me, Ciaran Callam. This is basically the show, if I haven't said this ever before, that's here to give you tips, tools, and resources that you can use to smash your dating and your sexual life. Now, today I do have an incredibly special or esteemed guest, we might say. This man is, I would call him an international playboy and influencer. He helps men to build status. And as I just said before we started recording, he's influenced my life more than he actually does realize. Mr. Michael Sartain, so hello.
Man, how you doing? What country are you in right now?
I'm in Mexico, Playa del Carmen.
Oh, so you're the international playboy. I actually met the girl that I'm dating right now in Playa in October. Yeah, for Swimsuit USA's World Championship.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I've never been to Mexico before. I'm absolutely loving it. I was only meant to be here for 1 week. So the idea was Joel was like, oh yeah, Ciaran, come to Playa. I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll go there for a week, then I'll go to Brazil. But then 1 week turned into 2, which turned into 3. And now I'm still here and I don't know what's going on. So here I am.
Nice.
So what I want to do is I want to find out about you. So I'd like to find out about how you help men to build status and more about that. But I also want to know about you and your story as well, because I've never actually heard that. I don't know if it's online somewhere. I haven't heard it. But before we get going, something I do want to say, like I said, you have actually impacted me. Reason being is because of this. So like most of the men in this scene, I grew up not having the level of success with women that I wanted and feeling like there's something wrong with me, etc. Then I discovered a world of seduction, pickup game, and it totally worked. It's like, oh my gosh, this is where I was going wrong. Now my life has completely changed and transformed. Now, I kind of heard in the periphery things about status and social circle. I kind of knew, but in my head, it wasn't really a real thing. But then I saw you, must have been, 3 years ago now, 2 years ago, I forget when it was, doing your thing. And from doing your thing, that was like a watershed moment where it showed me something about everything I learned up until then. And what I've realized is basically this. So like the world of game where you go to a nightclub and you meet some random woman and you say whatever you need to say to turn her on and make her like you, or you do day game or whatever. What I realize is that the only reason these things exist is because they're there to make up for an assumed lack of status in the mind of the woman. That's basically it. So you're walking in there with no status, and then because you've got no status, you have to create it in her mind in a very short space of time. Whereas if you actually had it to begin with, that really wouldn't be necessary. And that's something I realized from you. I learned that just from watching you. So again, thank you. It's good to be here, but
I appreciate it. I've never thought of it like that. I definitely have experienced what you're talking about. I've had situations where basically for me, it's like I would go out in Austin or San Antonio or Dallas, or when I lived in Atlanta, or I'd go out in just different cities in Los Angeles. And I noticed that like I am working hard to climb this mountain. And there's these other guys sitting in this VIP section. And I know they didn't pay for that table. And they are surrounded by beautiful women, and they're on their phones, and women are touching them. Women are trying to get their attention. And then they just pick one and they go home with them. And I'm sitting here on the dance floor, and I'm having to work as hard as I can to like, it's like I'm trying to climb the mountain with a pickaxe, and they've got a helicopter. That's what it felt like when I would go to these different places. And so that's was kind of the first realization for me. But I've never looked at it from the inverse point of view, which is what you're saying, which is basically the reason why I was doing so much game stuff. Because a lot of people don't know this. I used to work for the Venusian Arts. I was an intern for the Venusian Arts. I was an approach coach for a Love Drop and Mystery. And I remember doing all this stuff. And like my whole thing was I need to figure out a way to fast forward some of these ideas. So I would go into a club, and then I was like, okay, let me meet the security guard. Let me see if I can have a conversation with the GM and then get us into VIP quickly, so that then we can just like, it's really easy. It's much easier to talk to girls when you're in the VIP than when you're not in the VIP.
So, all right. Can you tell me about you, basically? You said you worked for Love Drop and Mystery. How did that actually happen? How did that come about? How did you end up in a situation where you felt like you needed to learn anything to do with this stuff anyway?
So I used to manage a strip club, and it was one of these things where you definitely learn a lot of interesting lessons. For instance, when I first time I read The Rational Male, it wasn't like an eye-opening thing for me. It was like, oh, somebody actually wrote this down. This is awesome. Because I had been working in a gentleman's club, like I said, and I was consistently seeing all of the hottest girls in the club dating the same four guys in Austin, right? I was like, okay, so there's something here that my church isn't telling me, and that my mom isn't telling me, and that Disney isn't telling me, and that television isn't telling me. So there's some component here that's missing. I knew something in the system was broken. And then I started like mimicking these guys who are really, really good with girls. Now, here's the thing. If you've ever met a guy we'll just call him a natural, who's really good with women, he doesn't know what he's doing, right? There's no way for him to like completely describe why he's so successful. And so he's just kind of like in certain core competency situations, like when he's around his friends in his city, he's really good with women. If you take him out of that situation, he sucks with them. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I was like, well, okay, there's something here to be learned, but maybe there's even more to be discovered. And so what happened was probably around 2005, I ended up on Friendster. And on Friendster, I saw this thing called Double Your Dating by David D'Angelo. And also I got on Facebook the same year. I got on Friendster and Facebook. Or no, MySpace. Friendster and MySpace in 2005, both of them. And I remember I was seeing that ad, and then I see all his stuff. And then back then we had Napster. I don't know if you guys remember that. And I was able to bootleg all of David D'Angelo's stuff off Napster. So I watched all of his stuff, which is where the first time I saw Mystery Search, the first time I saw RSD, first time I saw all this stuff. And then in the interview and I think it was the Double Your Dating one, they asked Neil Strauss about him writing a book, and then he writes the book and I read the book, The Game. And I later become friends with Neil a little bit after I was friends with Mystery when I moved to Los Angeles, because this is the thing, like you're going to become friends with all these people. If you're always in the high status spot, if you're always in the VIP of these different areas, you're going to end up becoming friends with these people who go out a lot. You're always running the same circles. Nothing cool about me. It was just eventually I was going to run into Neil Strauss. And so, so I became friends with him. And then like 2008, I remember watching these videos and just being like fascinated with the stuff that Eric was doing, Mystery. And then I applied to do one boot camp in Atlanta, and it was with Cosmo and Matador. And I did one boot camp with them. I just remember their sales call. I remember everything. I paid for one boot camp. I went to the boot camp. And I'm from Atlanta, or I was living in Atlanta at the same time. So I was hooked up everywhere. I got all the guys in the boot camp into all the clubs. And then I was actually trying to like impress Matador the whole time. And I did. I like pulled some girl in front of him or something like that. And from that point on, they asked me to be an approach coach for them. So I did Dallas another time in Scottsdale. Then I did Los Angeles, and I did, I did Dallas another time in Atlanta, Scottsdale, and I did Los Angeles. I did those 4 boot camps. So this would have been 2009 and 2009, 2010. I did those 4 boot camps with them. And I learned a ton. And then, Eric did what Eric does. He just kind of falls off. We just don't know what happened to Eric. Anybody know where Eric is? Nobody knows where the fuck he is. Right. And if you've ever hung out with Mystery, he's just like, sometimes he's just gone. And we just, I actually talked to him a couple of weeks ago, but it was just one of these things where I showed an efficacy. I never really had a fear of going up and talking to strangers, so that was never an issue. But just being around him and then seeing also the stuff that he does was very different from what he taught. I would sit when he would talk to girls, and I would sit at the next booth over and just listen to him. Eric would get to the point where he would make himself cry in front of women. It was crazy. He was so good at like changing his persona in order to talk to women. It was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. He pulled a threesome the first night I met him. With these 2 strippers. He was pretty awesome. And what he did, like Eric really was the real deal, right? That's why so many people were impressed by him. In the way the mystery method was written. Hold on a second. Let me get this big guy out of the way. I rescued this cat, and he's crawling in the way here. But the reason why Eric was, so popular was because, the stuff that he did, he was just so incredibly charismatic. Like Eric had the ability mentally to do things that like a professional world-class actor could do, right? It doesn't mean he didn't really like the girl. It doesn't mean that the stuff he was doing wasn't real. He just knew how to invoke emotion better than anybody had ever seen. And I don't have that ability, by the way. I'm way more logical. I don't have the ability to just invoke emotion like that from people, for myself. Give me 10 seconds. So that's where I first met him. And then from that point on, I'd say during the same time when like 07, 08, because um I lived in Atlanta from 05 to 08. And during that time, I started following around these club promoters, and I would watch more what they did and not listen to so much what the pickup guys did. Because I'd already seen what Mystery was said he was doing. And it wasn't Mystery, by the way, it was Love Drop writing down what Mystery was doing to make it like digestible was different from what he was actually doing. And so I would watch these club promoters and I was just like, okay, these guys are able to get 50, 60 girls to show up to a club every night. It's like their livelihood. It's how they pay their rent. And so I watched what they did and I just paid more attention to what they did and paid less attention to what the pickup guys were doing. And there was like, and then when I moved to LA in 2012, I was there from like 2012 to 2014. I would go out in LA. I don't know if you know this. It's the worst nightlife in America. I would rather go out in Wichita than LA. It's just terrible there. I would go out and I would bump into the RSD guys all the time. And they were just fun. Like they were just a bunch of fun guys. Some of them were kind of weird, little quirky, and they would go out all the time. So every weekend I would just go out with the RSD guys to like wherever if Owen Cook had a boot camp, I'd be with Owen. And me and Owen were pretty much inseparable for like 4 years after that. But I really wasn't doing any pickup stuff. It was just like I would come back, I would bring him to Vegas and I'd have some huge event. I'd be like, Owen, come in here. And I'd sit Owen at a table with like a bunch of girls. And then one time Owen met his girlfriend through me. Owen Cook did. And they were together for, 2-3 years. I'm not really sure. But it was just one of these things where I just only paid attention to what guys who were actually successful were doing. Because I came to the realization very quickly that there was a lot of money to be made in this by people who were saying they were good at something and weren't good. I remember El Topo. I can't remember, some dude in Dallas. I forgot what his name is, Capitan or Topo or something like that. And he would write on these message boards about how he would be picking up 9s and 10s in Dallas. And I remember being like, dude, you can't pick up 9s and 10s in Dallas because I'm at the best clubs and I don't know who you are. There's no possible way. It's like, I'm not going to say his name, but the fat kid in Brazil, the one who talks shit about everybody. I know he's not good with women because I live in Vegas and he keeps talking about all these hot girls he picked up. He never picked up any hot girls in Vegas. I would know. I know every hot girl in Vegas. In several cases, I saw him talk to women. They got creeped out and came over and started talking to me. So like, that's the thing. I was able to tell that some of these guys were lying and just weren't anywhere near as good as what they said they were. And I only paid attention to guys who were. And I think that was the first test case for me. And then later on, I'd say I did the same thing for business, like which guys are really good at sales and which guys talk about being good at sales. I've had guys apply to work for me and they tell me about the $1 million that they've done. And so we give them like a simple test and they can't pass it because they're just talking. We just got into the talking generation where this generation just brags about things that they're not able to accomplish, which is why rule number 1 in my program, Men of Action, is we don't listen to the words. I only pay attention to people's actions. I really don't. None of the other stuff means anything to me. I'm all about prove it. I'm all about show me. And a lot of people don't like that. You know, they really don't. One of the things I do, I don't know if you know this, Ciaran, but if you come on my live streams and you start denigrating the women, like tonight I'm doing a live stream with 4 girls, and you want to talk shit about how the women look, I'm fine with that. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. The girls don't read the comments, so they don't care either. But you have to show me. I'm going to block you unless you get on Instagram and show me the girls that you're dating. And of course, as soon as I say that, the guys get so angry. I'm like, no, the point is you're terrible with women and you're on YouTube talking shit about women. This is one of the things where it's like these guys are talking about being good with women, but they're actually horrible when you put them in that instance. And one of the things I really respected about Rolo is that, like, when I took Rolo Tomasi to my birthday, he was telling me, he's like, straight up, I was like, he was overwhelmed because there were so many beautiful women there. And he told me, he's like, 99% of men don't even know that this type of existence. There were 54 girls at my birthday party. He's like, 99% of men don't know that this existence is actually real. They can't believe that anything like this exists. And then his client, he had a couple of clients with him, and they were just like, the whole time. Because I mean, there were probably 6 girls that had been in Playboy at my birthday, and I didn't pay any of them to be there. And when I show the videos, it just, like, the guys, especially, I'll tell you, Ciaran, the black pill doomers, the looks, money, status guys, they hate me more than anyone because what I teach is so antithetical to what they believe. It's like, if it is looks, money, status, then that means the status has to come from somewhere. But if I can teach you pre-selection, then that means you don't have an excuse anymore. You see what I'm saying? It's like, what is the way I can teach status to where you don't have an excuse? Well, I'll just show you how to do pre-selection. I can show you inexpensively how to fix your Instagram, and then I can show you how to use that in order to create pre-selection. So now you have status. So now you don't have an excuse. And now it's like all the doomers like have no excuse, and now they're fucking furious. And then they come out. It's almost like if you were to prove to a Muslim person that Muhammad wasn't real, or if you were to prove to a Christian that Jesus wasn't real, they wouldn't thank you, Ciaran. They'd shoot you. You know what I'm saying? They don't like it. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So I do have a question though. Sorry.
Yeah.
For anyone who isn't really aware, what exactly is the black pill? Because to be honest, I know enough about the black pill to know I'm just not interested. So I know that they're negative as all hell and they're defeatist.
Yes.
But can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah. So I didn't know what black pill doomers were until Rollo explained to me like who some of these guys were. Basically, the black pill doomer is the guy who believes that women are incredibly shallow, evil creatures, and they only care about looks, money, and status. So LMS. So if you only think that dating is only about looks, money, status, then you're what's called a black pill doomer or a nihilist. And so the idea is that if you don't have the looks, you don't have a chance. If you don't have, and that includes height. If you don't have the money, then you don't have a chance. And if you don't have the status, that you don't have a chance. And of course, that number one, looks, money, status is not all that women look for. There is charisma. There are other ways in order to get girls. There is game, but you do need like a minimum level of looks and a minimum level of money in order for that to work. If you are below a certain line in either one of those categories, it is going to be difficult. And then as far as the status thing, it's like, does that matter to women? It does, but that's such a fixable thing. You can fix it with the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you present yourself on social media, and the way you show pre-selection. You can fix the status thing in 2 seconds. You don't have to win an NBA championship, and you don't have to win an Academy Award. You don't need a blue check mark. There's a bunch of ways to show status. It's just men look at other men's status, but they don't realize like in every room, there's one guy who has the highest status, and you can figure out ways to mimic that or to actually to do that in real life. It was Dr. David Buss was talking about this, how often women, he had female colleagues that would say, I was always attracted to like the event organizers whenever I'd go to a conference. And then I'd see these guys like at dinner and I'd be like, that guy was a fucking loser. But it was just like contextually, you can create high status situations for yourself. That is precisely exactly what I teach in my program. And then from that, you just get a bunch of attention from women, and you don't really have to like do game. It's just like you kind of get chosen in those situations. And it's very difficult for a black pill person to grasp that, because their whole belief system was that the reason why they're bad with women is because the game is rigged against them. And that women, it's like women's shallowness is the reason they don't get vagina. And so anything that I would teach that would show that that's not correct, that just makes them angry. They don't say, thank you, Michael, for exposing this flaw in my thinking. They're like, fuck you, you're a terrible person. You paid all these women to show up to your shit. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll give you $10,000 if you can find one single woman I paid to come to anything. So I have yet to find a single guy to take me up on that.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, though, because you're attacking people's worldview. Because here's the thing. Yeah. I mean, when you're some guy who sucks with women, and I know what that feels like personally, well, you got 2 options, basically. It's either your fault or it's not your fault. Now, if it's your fault, then that means that, it's your fault and it's fixable, or it's not your fault and nothing can be done. Now, if nothing can be done, you get to sit back and you get to relax, and you get that nice little dopamine hit of saying, well, you know what? The world screwed me. The world fucked me over. It wasn't me. I was dealt a bad hand. I was born with this color skin. I was born with this type of body, whatever. But if it actually is down to you, if you are actually to blame or at cause and effect, or if you're responsible for your own existence, then you have to take a look in the mirror, and then you have to say, whoa, I've actually got some work to do. And that's a very, very, very triggering thing for people. But
that's exactly right. Yeah.
So about the program. So what exactly is a guy going to be learning?
So when you join Men of Action, one thing I don't want this program to do is be kind of a feel-good course. Every pillar, you have to take away some like actual thing, tangible thing to do. So for those, I'll give you the first 4 steps of MOA, for even if you guys don't join the program. Number 1, you have to fix your Instagram or fix your social media. 90% of you watching this right now have social media that makes you look like a child molester. 90% of you look like creepy beta, creepy dudes. Dudes are going to send girls. So it's going to be the flannel shirt, the kind of like weird focused, the poorly focused, blurry photo. and it's going to be an up close of your face, but it's like 15 up closes of your face. Like, is this Grindr? I mean, if you are trying to attract homosexual men, then the close-ups of your face over and over again, then I think that's probably what you should do. If you want to attract women, you actually have to show access to scarce resources and status. So it's going to show you where you are. So instead, it's a picture where you're really small in the photo and the Burj Khalifa is behind you. Does that make sense? You're really small in the photo and the vessel in New York is behind you. You're really small in the photo and the Eiffel Tower is behind you. You're really small in the photo and you're here in the Valley of Fire. You know how much it costs to go to the Valley of Fire in Vegas? $0. It's free. It's free to go to the Valley of Fire. It's free to have your friend take a picture of you with their iPhone at the Valley of Fire. These things are not difficult to do, but you need to show that you travel or you have access to scarce resources or you have some core level of competency. Like some guys can get away with doing this and they're like musicians or something like that. I have a couple of friends that are plastic surgeons. They destroy, like showing you a plastic surgeon is such access to scarce resources that women go crazy for stuff like that. But you have to do that. What you can't show is here's me and my buddies and we're drinking beer at a football game. That's not high status. That's creepy. Like women don't understand, or dudes don't understand. Average for men is creepy. Average for women is terrific. Average women can post average social media photos and sleep with celebrities. Average men can post average social media photos and they look creepy and weird. There's no difference between average and gross on social media. That's why it's so important that you have to take that into account and fix it. And if when you watch on these dating apps, 80% of men are left swiped, they're considered to be unattractive. That they're not unattractive because of their facial symmetry. Most of the time, they're unattractive because of the setting that they put their Tinder profile in. And there's so many ways to fix this. Wear a suit that's fitted properly, have a relevant haircut, not a haircut where you look like a weirdo. So many men have these like bushy side hair. Like I could go over all this stuff. They don't know how to groom themselves. There's just so many problems they have. Or they wear clothes where they're already overweight and it makes them look even more overweight. Like, do you remember Ciaran, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this. Do you remember the PUA vest? All the PUAs were wearing vests back in like 07, 08. They were wearing these vests.
I don't actually. But out of curiosity, how old do you think I am?
Huh?
How old do you think I am? Curiosity.
You're 35?
Nah, 40.
40. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm 45. So it was these fucking vests they would wear and they'd leave them unbuttoned so they'd look even fatter. They'd actually like make themselves look fatter. It was just all these things that they were doing that were so uncalibrated. Whereas if you look at when you join MOA, you don't have to join MOA, by the way. If you just go on my Discord server, we give you 20 perfectly collated Instagrams. Some of them have no women on them. Some of them have a lot of women on them so that you can use those as an example and say, okay, this is what I should look like or my Instagram should look like in order for me to attract women. So step one is fix your social media. Okay. Step number two is you have to build a list. So the list should be 2,000 influencers, female influencers. And we show you how to do this. Like you pick like your dream girl in your perfect city. And then you would look at the girls she follows and look at all the correlated girls or girls that she tags in her photos. And for that, you would start and build a list. And it's going to take you maybe 6 months or a year, but you should get to about 2,000 girls at some point. It doesn't matter if some of them don't live in the right city. You just want to build this list. This is going to be your invite list later. You don't want to like or comment or follow any of these people yet. You're just building a list. Then you also want 200 influencers, high status people to that you want to network with. Most of these are going to be men. Some of them can be women, but most of these are going to be men. This is going to be your top real estate agent, your plastic surgeon, your mortgage broker, your guys who are wealthy and successful in your city. You want to network with these guys. These guys are also going to give you some level of access. The GMs of all the best nightclubs in the cities that you live in, some of the top VIP hosts, they're all going to be in this list of 200 guys. So this is going to take you a while to do. When you join my program, so if you live in Los Angeles, Miami, if you live anywhere in Texas, or if you live in Northeast, like we actually give you our list. All of us has a list. One of my guys has a list for Mexico City. One of my guys has a list for London. We share our list with other people, because the thing is, if you guys have your creepy Instagram and I were to give you my list, it won't matter. The girls aren't going to respond to you because your Instagram looks creepy. You look like a child molester. You look like a human trafficker. No one's going to fucking message you back. Whereas for me, they all message me back. Why? Because step number one, my Instagram is set up perfectly. And so then step number three is you need to find 6 events to invite girls to. You don't have to go to those events. So if Ciaran, you knew some super hot girls that lived in the States, you could say, hey, do you want to go to the Maxim party on this date, or do you want to go to Babes in Toyland on this date? And I would put them on the guest list, but she would give you the credit. Okay. So you don't have to go to these events, but you need to find 6 events to invite girls to. What that does is now that creates open threads between you and these girls. And you want to increase that number. But one of the main goals is in the beginning for MOAs, you want the maximum number of open threads between you and girls as you can get, meaning you don't want your messages to go in the request folder. You want to go in the main folder, in the general folder, or is it the general? I can't remember what the primary folder. You want the messages to go in the primary folder. And then step 4 is you need to find 6 girls that will go to certain places with you. So 6 like team. I know red pill guys get they gnash their teeth and clench their butthole when I say female friends. But you need to find 6 teammates that will go with you to different events. So for me, I like to go out with like 10 or 15 girls to different events. I never have trouble getting in. Every guy
Do
wants
you friend zone those
me.
women?
Yeah, I friend zone them. That doesn't mean I'm not sleeping with them. I'm sleeping with a good number of them. Yeah, but I do friend zone them. About 85% of the women I sleep with, I put them in the friend zone initially. So that's what I do. So I want, for me, if any of you have ever been a club promoter,
can I be curious? What's the distinction then? Because when I say friend zone, I'm thinking, okay, she's just a friend. We're not engaging sexually at all. But you're friend zoning them and sleeping with them. Yeah. So does that just mean you're not dating them?
Yeah, I'm not dating them, but I'm also not the one who's like overtly escalating. If we're alone, then maybe. But it's like I put them in the friend zone. Okay, so here's the thing. One of the things that I found that makes guys really good, if you were looking for a job to make you really good at game, it's being a club promoter. I've never been a straight up club promoter. I've been like, I've worked with club promoters, but I've never been an actual club promoter. But what club promoters have to do is, because they have a set number of girls they have to get into the club, when they go and approach women, they're so outcome independent that they become very good at approaching women. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And because they need 50 girls to show up, they're far more concerned with getting this whole batch of girls to show up than they are with putting their penis inside of any one of them, because they have to pay rent. Does that make sense? Yeah. So now you're outcome independent, and these women are seeing other women show compliance to you, and they're giving you massive amount. Their attraction, their fucking hypergamy antenna is just like red hot at this point. They're looking at you like, Jesus Christ, look at all these women that are showing him attention. They're like physiologically stimulated by you because you're so outcome independent. You treat them like everyone else because you're basically like herding a bunch of women into a club. And then because so many women are touching you, thank you, kiss you on the cheek, and you're just like high-fiving stunning women, prettier than the girl that you actually liked, then all of a sudden they become physiologically stimulated by you, and you really don't have to do anything. So when I say I would friend zone these girls, at the end of the night, I would just looking like, she's just following me back. Okay, cool. I'm going to go to my car. She's following me back to the car. Okay, cool. Oh, there's 3. Okay, there's 4 girls. They're coming with me back. Okay, we're going back to my place. Okay, there's 5 girls in my car. I don't know what. I didn't even invite them. They're just coming back. And then next thing I know, like I'm in bed and there's just like girls in my living room, and because they followed you, because you're so clearly the alpha male that they were looking for. Why? Because you showed pre-selection. You showed compliance from other women, and you show complete outcome independence. This is why I tell guys who are like really bad, being a club promoter for like 1 or 2 summers is a good way to like get you out of that mode of outcome dependence whenever you go talk to women. So often it's just like I friend zone these girls, and then they just start showing me a little bit of interest, and then next thing you know, we're in a unisex bathroom. You just don't know what's going to happen. It's like that. But yeah, the vast majority of women I'm with are girls that I'm just friends with.
Okay. Yeah. Are there any other major steps to the program?
Yeah. So like I said, the 4th step is to make sure you have 6 events to take the girls to. So those are the 4. If you have to have those first 4 steps done before we teach you the event planning and all this other kind of stuff. Also, one of the biggest misnomers about my program is this idea that it's an event planning program. I do not teach you to throw events. I teach you to help other people with their events. Babes in Toyland, the Maxim Party, all these events, the bikini competition, none of these are my events. I'm just the MC and the recruiter. I don't encourage you to throw events. You know, when they say, when you guys want to start a business, what's the best money to start a business with? Other people's money. When you want to throw a party, the best place to throw a party, other people's houses. I don't throw parties at my house, other people's houses, but I help them. I show up with a bunch of girls and let somebody else do the work, because I don't want to stay at the end and have to clean up. I'm not teaching you guys to be an event planner. So there's some guys in like these fucking toxic ass Telegram groups saying that all I do is like pay the girls to come show up to some photo shoot that I'm doing. We pay 0 girls. And most of the time we don't even pay for the location. The guy who owns the location just wants a bunch of girls there because it's like a luxury rental villa or something like that. And so we're doing this for trade. That's essentially what's going on. They get the exposure from social media influencers, and we get to use the location for free. So that's what I teach the guys to do. Don't throw your own event. you should help some other people throw their events. Those are the first 4 steps, the first 6 rules in MOA. Rule number 1 is we don't listen to the words. We only pay attention to people's actions. This is the most important one. You're just going to find like, oh, Michael, my girl, I think she's cheating on me. Okay, what happened? And then he goes, well, she said this, and then she said this, and then she didn't show up last night. And then she said this, and then she said that, and then she said she really loved me and started crying. And then she never called me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. Let's do that whole thing again, except take all the words out. What happened? She didn't call me last night, and she didn't show up when she said she's cheating on you. Because she's cheating on you. Like when you take the words out of the equation, all of a sudden everything makes sense. If you just pay attention to people's actions. So that's why that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is evolutionary psychology explains all human behavior. This is really controversial because a lot of people who believe in free will don't like my program. They don't like evolutionary psychology. The reality of the situation is you are just the result of all the hormones and neurochemicals in your body that causes you to act the way you do, the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the serotonin, and the oxytocin in your brain. And then the estrogen, the testosterone, the cortisol, the insulin in your bloodstream. Those are what cause you to behave the way you do. And all of those amounts are selected through evolutionary they're selected through evolutionary pressure. They're selected through natural selection. And so when you come to that realization, now all of a sudden people's motivations make sense. Remember, rule number 1, we don't listen to the words. Rule number 2, we pay attention to their motivations. Their motivations generally are, I want higher sexual selection and higher status. And we understand that from studying evolutionary psychology. Rule number 3, abundance is always the answer. Unless you have like a heroin addiction or you're addicted to simping on girls on OnlyFans, then abundance is not the answer. But for everything else, abundance is the answer. Hey, Michael, I want to get my girlfriend back. What should I do? Date more women. Hey, Michael, I want to get over my girlfriend. What should I do? Date more women. Hey, Michael, I want to get better at dating. What should I do? Date more women. You see how all 3, the answer is the same? The answer is date more women, right? Hey, Michael, I want to get better at my job. Okay, it's time to study more and become a subject matter expert. Hey, Michael, I want to get a new job. Okay, it's time to study more and become a subject matter expert. Hey, Michael, I want to broaden my horizons and look for a new kind of job. Hey, then it's time to study more and become a subject matter expert. See how the answer is always more or better. Always more or better. The answer to, if you have question 1, question 2, or question 3, it's always the same answer. The answer is always abundance. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally.
Rule number 4, social media is fake, and I'm okay with that because the money's real. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that because the money's real. I'm a social media producer. I'm not a social media consumer. I do not go to social media for my own personal validation. I do not go on social media to make myself feel good, and I certainly don't go to social media to complain about somebody breaking up with me. So the guys are out there, your girlfriend cheated on you, and you post something about, I can't believe Sally cheated on me. Women are fake and they're terrible. Every woman who reads that message thinks that you have a micro penis and you're bad in bed or you hit her or something like that. No one feels sorry for you on social media. We've taken where we used to go to church and go to prayer meetings, and now we transposed that over to fucking Instagram. And now we pray to Instagram. We send our problems up to Instagram. Social media is fake. If you feel FOMO from watching my life, understand that the vast majority of my life is me taking care of rescued cats that I rescue. That's the vast majority of what I do. The bikini competition is like 1% of my life. Now, when I want to go on a date, I have multiple options because of the lifestyle I set up. But the majority of my life is not me. It's me eating fucking Chipotle, doing podcasts, editing video, and taking care of cats. The FOMO that you feel is because you don't realize that social media is fake. It's fake. It's disingenuous. But there's also another lesson to be learned here, because when you try to take your genuine self to social media because you don't want to be fake, you don't make any money. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that because the money's real, because the networking is real, because the status you gain from it is real. For those of you who are like, I don't care if you hate social media. I don't care if you think everybody on there's fake. If you had 1 million followers and a blue check mark, it'd be easier for you to network. It'd be easier for you to get another job. It'd be easier for you to find someone to date. All these things would be easier. Social media can make your life easier if you play the game. And what is the game? The game is it's fake. It's all fucking fake. And when you grasp that and you're like, okay, so here's my internal locus of control, and here's the internal feelings I have about myself. They stay here. They don't go onto Instagram. Instagram is the act. I'm acting for Instagram. There's the one girl I'm seeing, and she's constantly using quotes from my podcast against me. And I'm like, babe, one of the rules in my relationship is you can't use my work against me. She's like, why is that? I was like, because that's for social media. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. because the money's real. I say some outlandish shit on social media. It's not that I don't believe it. It's just I present it in a certain way. And when I do that, then I get more likes. The best example of all time of this happening, the best two examples are Andrew Tate and Donald Trump. They would say things, they would present their opinion in a way that was so fucking acrimonious that it caused people to react to it, right? And that's what I do the same thing. If you think that you're going to just go out there and just be like, post pictures of your poetry or your fucking art, and you think people are going to like it, no, they're not. Social media is fake. It's full of vapid, stupid people. Your audience is a bunch of, like, just consider your audience is a bunch of 10-year-olds with ADD. That's how, whenever I post up on social media, I post that level of simplicity. And I tell my social media manager, something crazy has to happen in all of our clips in the first 3 seconds. It's really hard because she forgets all the time. I'm like, first 3 seconds. You have to say cocaine or titty or sex or explosion or cheating or asshole or something in the first 3 seconds of the video. If you don't say those words, then there's no point in you even posting the reel, because nobody's going to pay attention. And it doesn't matter if it's in context. Why? Because rule number 4, social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. Rule number 5 is we don't talk shit about people behind their back. And if someone's doing better for me than me, I need to learn from them. That's rule number 5. Is basically don't feel jealousy. Don't feel FOMO. A lot of times you feel jealousy because this guy has this level of success. Just watch people with Bilzerian. Bilzerian did nothing to deserve the hate that he gets. Nothing. Vegas Dave did nothing to deserve the fucking hate he gets. Nothing. He was living his own fucking life, fucking lots of women. Yeah. Now, if he fucked your girlfriend, I can totally understand why you'd be upset at him. And if he fucked the girl of your dreams, I get why you're upset at him. But go back to rule number 5. You shouldn't be upset. I've never been jealous of a single girl. Dan and I hang out all the time. And when we hang out, it's me with one girl and Dan with 16 girls. I'm never jealous of him, though, because that's Dan. That's just the life that he lives. And there's so many things that I've learned from hanging out with him about pre-selection that have helped me in my life and helped me build my business. I'm not going to hate on him ever, no matter how good he is, no matter how many women he bangs. If any of my friends, I have several friends that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm never going to, they have no trouble with women. They just pull up in a fucking Rolls Royce. They take the girls back to their mansion and the women's panties just drop. And I'm like, I never look at it like, fuck that guy. Never, ever, 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 ever. I'm like, there's something for me to glean from this. There's something for me to learn. I never talk shit about people who are more successful than me, ever. You will never see me on YouTube comments just randomly talking shit about people. Only people who are unsuccessful go on YouTube and start talking shit about other people. Only. There's no exception. There's no exception. If you are a YouTube troll, your life is a failure. You make no fucking money. And I don't really care about pissing those guys off because they can't afford my course anyway because they're broke. So, and then rule number 6, everyone loves rule number 6. Rule number 6 is nobody needs to know who you're fucking. Nobody needs to know how much money you make because you're qualifying yourself to other people. Do not qualify yourself to other people. Pickup made several huge mistakes. But one of the biggest mistakes they made was this thing called DHV, demonstration of higher value. And what guys took it to mean was, what it actually meant was a demonstration. A demonstration of higher value is fine. It's like, so for instance, Ciaran, you and I are sitting at a club. We're at Warwick in Los Angeles, and we're talking to these girls, and you and I are really funny. Like, they're pissing themselves. We're like making fun of them. There's some weird dude on the dance floor. Like, why'd you let your boyfriend dress like that? The girls are like punching us. They're just laughing super hard. And we walk outside and like, hey, can we give you guys a ride home? And a fucking Rolls Royce Phantom pulls up. You guys want to come with us? That's a demonstration of higher value. What do most guys do? They dangle the fucking keys in front of the girl. Hey, bitch, come here, bitch. You know what I'm saying? That's qualifying. Do you understand the difference? Let her discover you're a doctor. Don't tell her you're a doctor. Let her discover. That's what social media can do. Social media can allow her to discover about you rather than you telling her. So that's why we don't qualify to other people. That's what rule number 6 is. Now, obviously, if you're dating a bisexual woman, you can certainly tell her all the women you've slept with because she wants to know. And if you're applying for a home loan, the bank needs to know how much money you make. So there are exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, and also, I will accept this. If guys want to share notes about how they got with a girl, if we're doing it for academic reasons, I'm fine with that. What I'm not cool with is just bragging. Because when you brag about the women in your circle that you sleep with, you're never going to sleep with them again. They're going to tell other women that you can't keep your mouth shut. It's like, do you remember, do you ever watch American football, Ciaran?
No, not really.
No. The greatest running back of all time was a guy named Barry Sanders.
But by the way, respect to you for calling it American football because you're talking to an Englishman.
Of course.
I like that.
Yeah. So Barry Sanders, Barry Sanders was from Wichita. He went to Oklahoma State, and he was the greatest running back of all time. This guy was unbelievably tough. Like, I honestly, knowing anything about American football, if you watched a video of this guy, you'd be like, how is that possible? That doesn't look human. No one could he was about 5'9". No one could tackle this guy. When he scored a touchdown, and he scored probably more touchdowns than any running back in history, you know what he would do? He would walk over to the referee, he'd hand him the ball, and he'd go back in the huddle. That's all he would do. Or he'd go back on the sideline. You know why? Because he's been there before. He didn't have to celebrate, Ciaran, because he's been there before. When you fuck a hot girl and you brag to your friends, you're acting like you've never been there before, which is a sign of low status. That's why I don't brag to other people about who I sleep with, but no one needs to know who you're sleeping with. No one needs to know how much money you make. For me, like Ty Lopez doesn't go, well, I looked at my bank account with $400 million today. No, what does he do instead? He's like, yeah, today I bought Radio Shack. You bought Radio Shack? Yeah, I bought Radio Shack. That was $40 million. Okay, so he has at least $40 million. You can display signs of wealth indirectly, and you can display signs of status indirectly. Do not overtly jackhammer people with displays of wealth or status. That does work on one type of girl. You know which type of girl it is? Clout chasers and prostitutes. Those girls, which are very similar, those type of girls will go for overt, like hammer hitting levels of status. That kind of stuff will work on them. Transactional women are impressed by that. That's a very small number of women. But of course, to LMR, looks money, or LMS, black pill guys, they think all women are like that. And that's another thing. This is just a side note. When you go to a club, you're not seeing a normal representation of women. This is not the normal bell curve. You're seeing at the club in the VIP, the girls with the biggest tits and the blondest hair, who are the ones that are most aggressively after money. And you start believing in your mind that that's a representation of all women, and it's not. And so that's one of the issues that I see a lot of guys have, is that they're rejected by one woman who's hot, and then they believe all women who are hot are trash because of that one thing that happened. Whereas if they did what I did and created incredible social media, they'd be exposed to so many women that they would not have that belief about them at all. There's so many incredible women in my life right now that I'm friends with, or I used to date or whatever, that if I was 25 years old, I probably would have married them because they were so pretty and so awesome. But I have so much abundance in my life, I'm not interested in that anymore. And so I created that abundance through the first 4 steps that I told you about, and through the 6 rules that I just explained.
So what does a woman need to keep your attention in? You said that these absolutely amazing women, if you're 25, you'd have snapped them up in a heartbeat. What are you looking for now?
So the thing is, they're still amazing, and several of them can keep my attention. I am trying like a semi-monogamous thing right now, like a polygynous thing where it's me and this girl and we see other women together. But the thing with her is that she is just so willing to do things to make me happy and to keep me on my path and purpose and not try to pull me off of it. If things change in that regard, or if it comes to a situation where she's very uncomfortable with me with other women, then we might have to change the status of the relationship. But as of right now, that's where we are. And so that makes me happy. But it's one of these situations, in order to keep my attention, so here's the thing, Ciaran, when you go to like the Playboy Mansion or something like that, the 50th hottest girl there, you would still have sex with. The 50th hottest girl. Because what happens for men is there's like an upper limit. Do you understand? There's like you're trying to, let's try saying you're trying to blow up a barn and you use dynamite and it blows the barn up, or you use a fucking nuclear bomb. The nuclear bomb's overkill. Like, you don't need that much explosive power. With women, Ciaran, there's a certain level to where when a woman is finer, it doesn't matter anymore. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Like, like you can be above a 10, but my penis can't get any harder, right? And so like I meet women that are like that all the time. They're like above a 10. They're above a 10. So like there's a minimum level of physical attractiveness I need. And if you're more attractive, like I'm not going to spend all my time saying, well, this girl's a 13.9, so I'm going to be with her as opposed to the 12.6. I don't do that. Once you get up to a certain level, like 9.8, to me, by the way, I don't mean to judge or stratify women in general. Just to me, my personal rating system, to like my level of physiological attraction towards a woman, 9.8 or better, I'm like, okay, I would want to be with that girl. So she'd have to keep my attention that way. But additionally, she would have to be comfortable with the proclivities of my life. I'm going to be on podcasts 7 or 8 times a week. I'm going to travel. I'm going to host Swimsuit USA, which is one of the biggest bikini competitions in the world. I'm going to host Paradise Challenge, which is the biggest destination photo shoot in the world. And I'm going to host the bikini competition over Wet Republic, which is the biggest bikini competition in the world. So I'm going to be around hundreds of women all the time. And occasionally, if I want to, we're going to bring some of these women home with us. If you're fine with, not specifically from the bikini competitions, but just in general in life when I go out, if you're fine with that, if you're very comfortable and make me feel comfortable, that's how you keep my attention. And you have to bring me peace. You have to bring me peace. You cannot pull me off my purpose.
This is some inspirational words. So any man who is watching, who thinks to himself, you know what, I like what this man is saying, I like what I'm hearing, men of action, I need to sign up, where would he need to go?
Go to MOA Mentoring. I don't know if you give me make me a co-host. I can show it all to you. But I don't know if you can from but I was.
I can, hold on.
If you can't, okay, cool, perfect.
No, I can.
Okay. Yeah. There's a ton of different places that you can go. So first off, for those of you who are having trouble with like understanding what I'm talking about, just go to my Instagram and you can see like I have literally thousands of videos like this showing just like a ridiculous levels of pre-selection. And yeah, for some of you guys, you may not like huge fake tits and small boobs or small waists and six-pack abs like what I like. Some of you guys may be interested in different types of women. My whole thing is I believe women like this are the hardest to keep their attention because they receive the most stimulus. It's not that these women are the most beautiful. Whatever you think is the most beautiful is up to you. But these are the hardest women to keep their attention because they're receiving so much attention from other men. So if you can do it on this level, this is hard mode. If you can do it on hard mode, then the rest of it is just easy mode. Does that make sense? If you can bench press 300 pounds, then you can bench press 200 pounds. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just show you endless like examples of pre-selection in like different instances all over the place. Let me see if I got these up. So if you guys like need specific examples of like what I'm talking about as far as pre-selection, just go to my Instagram and I'll try to show you, look up. I would go and try to go through a couple hundred of them. This is me. And I'm with Ashlyn Sharp, but there's Bulzarian. He and I were hanging out for Halloween. And so I try to post pictures like this because one thing I like to do in my program is I like to talk. I don't like to talk about it. I like to be about it. I don't like to talk about it. I like to be about it. This is 3 birthdays ago where we had 50 girls come to my buddy's place. This was during COVID, so we weren't supposed to be having a party like this. But we just posted this video the other day of all the girls that came out to my birthday party. And it's just one of these things where if you guys are having any kind of doubt, the first thing I want you to do is go to my social media and then just see what you see on there first. Okay. Second thing is if after that you like what you see, then I would just go to moamentoring.com and I would still be skeptical. But even though you're skeptical, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to look at these testimonials. And I have testimonials. So this guy's an F-18 pilot. This guy broke his neck. This guy's 5'3", right? You can't make the excuse, oh, I'm too short. You can't do that, right? This guy lives in France. He's a college student. This guy lives in London. This guy was throwing these incredible parties in London. This guy lives in New York. Again, all the tropes, the Indian guy who's too short, the African-American guy who wants to date white girls, all of them. We cover them. There's no excuses. There's another Middle Eastern guy who lives in Miami. Here's another guy who, again, not super tall, lives in Miami. Another guy here he's a club promoter. Any of you guys who are interested in being club promoters, I teach you the whole system. There's another guy who lives in Chicago. I love his IG because he doesn't put women on his Instagram. This is Vincent. He doesn't put women on his Instagram. Here's another one. Mohit lives in Singapore. Guys, we'll go all day long. We're not going to stop. Again, take your skepticism. Keegan is the Asian guy from Seattle. Take your skepticism. Bring it here. Keep going through your skepticism. And then once you're done with that and you've seen enough, then I would just go up here and I would just watch the video. I would watch the video and then even after this, if you're still skeptical, hey man, give me a call. Let me know why you're still skeptical at this point.
Incredibly good at networking. Some people, everyone wants to just be around. They're the center of the room. What is it?
So if you guys are interested in that, just go to moamentoring.com. You can check it out or just write me on Instagram. I appreciate the skepticism. One of the things I do, dude, I don't know if you've seen this. I go on those Telegram groups and everybody who has an objection to what I sell, I go in there and I handle the objection. We go back and forth until people understand. Because I get it. If you've been learning pickup for 15 years and then I come to you with my program, it's so antithetical to what you've been learning to the point where you're actually like offended. You're like, wait, I've been spending all this time trying to learn this one method and there was this other easy way for me to do this. Why is that? And the reason why is pickup got 3 things wrong. Number one, pickup completely missed the boat on social media. I think a lot of pickup coaches knew their clients were weird and didn't want their weird clients posting their weirdness on social media. And so pickup in general, I mean, specifically Real Social Dynamics, they just were very late to the game when it came to social media. Number two, pickup got the female friends thing completely wrong. Most men would not be able to be friends with the women I'm attracted, like that I hang out with. But if you can learn to like surround yourself with 10, 20, 30 women, you get access to everything, you become calibrated, and you get incredible amounts of pre-selection. And then the third thing that pickup got wrong was logistics. They should have told some of these men, like, if you live in a shitty place, the most underrated part of self-help is logistics. It's not the most important, but it's the most underrated. What pickup would do would be like, oh, you live in Eastern Washington? Okay, here's some tips on how to pick up chicks in Eastern Washington. No. The correct answer is, Ciaran, leave Eastern Washington. The correct answer is get out of your mom's basement. The correct answer is move to Miami, move to South Beach or Brickell, move to Dallas, move to Houston, move to Atlanta, move to Tampa Bay, move to Scottsdale, move to San Diego, move to Orange County, move to Las Vegas. That's the correct answer. It is not to stay in your mom's basement. So those three things pickup got horribly wrong. And that's why a lot of guys right now are like very confused when they see my results. They're not, by the way, when they hear me talk, they're like, oh, it's just another social circle guy. It's when they see my results, when they start having this dissonance and it doesn't make any sense, right? It's like if somebody tried to prove to me that gravity was real, I'd be like, fuck you. And then they showed me like this anti-gravity, like floating car. I would be like, wait a second. What's going on here? You're tricking me. That's what it feels like to a lot of guys when they see my lifestyle. They're like, this can't be real. So, I invite you to come out to Vegas during the summer, during the bikini competition. Come say hi to me. I'll introduce you to a bunch of girls and you can tell me if it's real. Also, no girl in any of these pictures, no girl. One more time. I'll put this up again. I'll put this up for your fans. I'll put this up for anybody else who has this question. Not a single girl in any of these photos on my Instagram was paid to be there. Not one. I will leave this offer out to anyone who has it, who has a question about this. Let me see if I can pull it up. And here we go. By the way, Babes in Toyland right there, that's one of the events that I host. Any girl that's in here, they're all tagged. If you can find a single girl I have ever paid to come on a single thing I've ever done, I will give you $10,000. Not one single girl have I ever paid to come to any event I've ever done. All of this, none of these girls were paid to be there. And some of these girls, like you can see right here, Sid Wilder, she came to one of my events. Sid has, where's Sid at? Sid has 2.2 million followers. If you were to look at some of the other girls, like this is Caitlin Runk right here. Caitlin Runk she comes to all of my events. Caitlin Runk has 2.6 million followers. If you were to look, none of these girls were paid to be at any of my events. If you have an issue with that, I will pay you $10,000 if you can find a single girl I've ever paid. So at this point, like what I want you to do is take your skepticism, go down my Instagram hole, go down MOA mentoring, and then you tell me what you think at the end. If you don't want to join, that's fine. Just let me know why. Let me know why you don't want to join. And for the rest of you, you're probably going to join.
All right. Well, Mr. Michael Sartain, this has been brilliant. This has been brilliant. You know what? I've got to say, right, props and kudos to you because number one, this has been like a very powerful speech. And I've actually learned a bit. I've learned quite a bit actually in this call. That's number one. Number two, this is the least I've ever spoken in a podcast. Ever. Oh,
is it? Yeah.
And I'm impressed at your ability to just go.
I'm doing 7 this week, man. It's hard. And then I did Fresh and Fit last week. I did 4 episodes of Fresh and Fit. And then I did 2 episodes with Evaluatainment, Adam Sosnick. And then I did 2 episodes with Justin Waller last week. And then I did my podcast last night with Rollo. Tonight, by the way, every other Friday, every other Thursday, if you guys want to check us out, it's called Access Vegas. And we sit down with 4 girls. Me and Rollo sit down with 4 girls. And we're not trying to be like Fresh and Fit. We talk to Fresh and Fit about this. We do ours on Thursday. They do theirs on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What we do is we provide evidence. Studies, peer-reviewed studies. We provide evidence to show why we believe what we do about red pill or marriage or whatever like that. A lot of these girls are friends of mine. They're usually accomplished models. Yes, you will see a lot of large fake breasts on these calls. But I try, and several of the girls that are on the show I've dated, but I don't tell you which girls I've dated. And then we just go over and the guys put in super chats. It's basically like imagine Fresh and Fit, but it's only science-based. And it's only with girls who are like maybe like established models.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yep.
Really does. By the way, something I've been thinking as this interview, this podcast has been going along is that, you give the impression that you're a bit of a breast man, but really and truly, if you were an ass man, if you appreciated that, then you'd be really appreciating what life has to offer.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's lots of things to offer. To me, if a girl doesn't have an ass, that's not a disqualifier. I'll just be honest with you. I haven't been with a girl that has a real boob job, and I've been with maybe one girl in 10 years that had real boobs. Now, again, I'm not saying that to brag. It's just my type. And I live in Vegas. I will tell you this. It's not that women with boob jobs are hotter. Some of you guys are going to be like, I don't like girls with boob jobs. That's fine. It's that women with boob jobs are harder. The point is, what makes the women harder when we talk about like women having like delusional beliefs about themselves, it's because of all the attention they get from men. When they get larger breasts or blonder hair, they get more attention from men, which makes it harder.
Okay, so is a woman with a boob job harder than a woman with a BBL?
That's interesting. It depends on where you are. In Vegas, I think the boob job would make it harder. In Miami, the BBL would be harder. The BBL will get you to the top of the top in Miami. Miami's an ass. Miami is a brown skin ass city. Vegas is a white girl, big fake titty city. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? They're both cocaine cities. I've never tried cocaine, but a lot of people do drugs in both cities. I see more BBLs with real boobs in Miami, and I see more fake boobs with no ass in Scottsdale and in Vegas. So it just depends on like where you are, what city you're in. But that's the thing, man. If you're a guy and like, let's say you don't like Asian women and you have a homie who likes Asian women, your job should be, here, I'm not attracted to you, but let me set you up with my homie. That's what we teach in MOA, teamwork. You shouldn't look at a woman who's like an ethnicity you don't like and be like, look at that ugly whore. Don't ever do that. Somebody likes that. Dude, thick girls, I'm not into thick girls. I got homies that love thick women, like have small waist, but just humongous tits and humongous ass and like big old thick ass thighs and like muscly thighs. I know some dudes who are really into that. That's not my thing. So I would become friends with that girl and then hook her up with my homie. It's no fun if my friends can't have some, bro. I always try to hook my friends up with girls that are their type. They don't have to be my type. That could be their type. But I don't denigrate women because they don't have the look that I like. Make sense?
Yeah. And on that topic, I think it's absolutely fucking ridiculous anyway. It's the attitude a lot of guys have when it comes to women. It's like, if I'm not attracted to you sexually, then you have no value, no worth whatsoever, and go fuck yourself. And yeah, I disagree with that in a million different ways. But yeah, thank you for your time, though. Thank you.
Of course.